Much of Washington is on pause with the impeachment trial. State lawmakers, they've been busy, from COVID relief to reopening schools. No shortage of hot topics already on the table. Let's bring in Representative John Bell. He's a Republican and Majority Leader in the State House. Representative Bell, good to see you, sir. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Nice to always be with you, Tim. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. I want to talk about schools in a minute, but I first want to talk about, and I don't even have a lot of time to do this, so I'm not going to ask great details, but there's this report out from the governor now that there apparently is a $4.1 billion potential surplus with budget coming in. Is that a true surplus?
I actually don't know. We haven't had those conversations with our appropriation and finance chairs yet. Really, our focus this week has been working through the reopening of our schools. And that's really where my focus has been. But you know, we'll work on that next week.
Well, in some ways, I mean, I joke about this, but not. That will create an interesting discussion on Jones Street if that is the case, right? I mean, the whole. Sometimes when there's more money, there's more disagreement.
Absolutely, and you know, if we come in with a surplus on that would be a good surprise. But I tell you what, it will do, Tim. It'll actually show the fiscal impact with the Republican policies done in the last 10 years. We've been very smart with our spending. We've been very smart by looking at our tax reform and the regulatory reforms we've done in the last 10 years. And that's why I've said numerous times during this pandemic, North Carolina is going to be better than 49 other states. And if this is true from the governor's office and we meet with our fiscal folks and take a look at that, and I hope it is true, that just goes to show that our policies are working.
All right, so school reopening, you've been tweeting about a lot. I know this has been an important issue for you. There has to be some discussion back and forth between this thing finalizes. But why force schools to reopen?
Well, we actually have a number of schools that are frankly not even moving toward reopen. They've had 10 months on planning. Some of them very early in the process that they were going to shut down virtually. And it was brought up today that there's like 20 or less school systems that are all in Plan C, which is virtual only, but they also represent over 41% of the public school population. And you look at what's happening over the last year, over 50,000 students leaving the public school system, over 10,000 students that just frankly have disappeared and can't be accounted for. We've got school systems to where, I brought this up on the House floor today in our debate in Wilson County. It was something like half of the 3rd through 12th graders that did virtual last year had at least one failing grade. That's just unacceptable. We're watching mental health issues increase with our student population. We're watching working families struggling to not only try to maintain work, but also coming in and navigate through the virtual teacher process. I know I've watched my daughter and my wife, and as we're going through that process there, when my kindergartner trying to learn how to read online, it is very difficult. A lot of parents have said enough. We've got to move forward reopening. You know, you look at data, the data and science and data that's been talked about from day one with the pandemic, and the science and data clearly say it's safe to reopen schools, and that's what we did today.
Why do you think those districts that, you know, whatever percentage it is, are not reopening? Why do you think they're choosing not to? Because I know I've talked to some, the School Boards Association, where there's some districts that they just feel they can't. What have you guys heard in terms of why schools that absolutely just seem to not want to?
Well, I think there's some fear of staffing shortages. I think there's some folks that just frankly do not want to go back into the school buildings and like the freedom of being able to teach virtual and not have the accountability piece. And then there's frankly the worriness of the virus out there. But with the vaccine coming online and more people getting vaccinated and more people and saying, look, the cure can't be worse than the pandemic itself. And they're looking at what's happening to the mental health aspect and the educational aspect of our children that they've just said enough. And so I hope these school systems will reevaluate and look at where they're at. And a majority of them are looking at going into some type of in-person option. And that's what the bill does, and encourage them to move forward on that.
All the way up through 12th grade?
Yes, sir.
Just for people that haven't been following this bill super closely. So yesterday we got news that the governor, they're going to move to group 3, sort of. They're going to allow teachers to sort of move ahead of the rest of group 3 to get their vaccinations starting on February 24th. The rest of them could move to March 10th. What do you think about that in terms of also in relation to trying to get schools to reopen?
Well, I want everybody to be vaccinated that wants to be vaccinated. And the more we can push the vaccine out there and get more shots in people's arms, I encourage the governor and our Health and Human Services team to absolutely do that. So I'm supportive of that. But it was very interesting that the CDC director came out last week and then was backed up by Secretary Cohen that said it's not a prerequisite for teachers to be vaccinated to go into the classroom. That they felt like that moving into the schools and putting students back in the schools is safe, and as long as you maintain the CDC standards with the protocols in place, that everybody should be fine. So the science and data back up opening our schools, but I'm glad to see that the governor decided to make the push to vaccinate as many people as possible, including our teachers.
This has been another sort of reopen or not reopen, Republicans versus governor in a lot of ways battle about is it enough, too much. Is there talk about sort of relooking at emergency powers and the statute that is involved with that moving forward?
There is, and we have a number of members here in the House working on it. They're in the process of developing bills to see what that looks like, but there is an effort there, and frankly, it's a concern. Our government is not a dictatorship, and one person shouldn't have complete and total power on the decisions that are being making right now. So we're hoping to revisit that, and I think you'll see that come out in the next couple of weeks.
All right, Representative Bell, it is always good to see you, sir. Thank you so much. Hope you get a break and get home for a little bit.
All right, thank you very much, and I'll get to go home hopefully sometime in July, but we're going to be here doing the people's business.
Well, we'll see if redistricting allows you to do that, but that's for another day. Good.
Now we'll more likely come back for that, but hopefully I'll be home by July.
Good to see you, sir. Thank you.